The title of the book, Yorkshire Transvestite Found Dead on Everest, refers to a guy called Maurice Wilson. And this story is true. I came across it years back when I was just researching Everest for the book I wrote, Footloose in the Himalaya. A fascinating account of a Yorkshireman, a true Yorkshireman with the kind of grit and stamina and pig-headedness that Yorkshire folk seem to have. I'm born in Lancashire myself, but I lived more of my life in Yorkshire and the Yorkshire Dales than I've lived anywhere. I can never be an honorary Yorkshireman because they don't allow you in if you're a Lancastrian. If you were a Martian, you'd be allowed to be an honorary Yorkshireman, but not if you're a Lancastrian. I remember talking to a Yorkshire mate of mine. He said, I was born Yorkshire, lived Yorkshire all my life, and I'll die in Yorkshire. I said, have you got no ambition? But what gets me about this story is that Wilson, I've just been reading about the 96 Chinese expedition to Everest, and Wilson, the Chinese reckon now, they found his tent at something like 26,000, I think 25 or 26,000 feet. They reckon that he got the highest anybody ever got on Everest before the later expeditions. This is 1934 when he went. And there is a body of opinion, largely centred around Yorkshire, that maintains that he actually did get to the summit of Everest. Anyway, I think it's a southern plot to discredit Maurice Wilson and all northerners. And the first part of the piece starts with me ranting on about the north-south divide. I'll leave that and cut straight to the story of Maurice Wilson. Maurice Wilson is one of the great unsung heroes of Himalayan mountaineering and a Yorkshireman to boot. It's not often you'll hear a Lancastrian like myself saying good things about a Yorkshireman, but in the cause of northern solidarity, little things like the fact that Lancashire is better at everything must be put to one side for a moment. All the following is absolutely true and can be checked out via Google, the Encyclopaedia Britannica and the British Library. Maurice Wilson was born plain Maurice Wilson in the dying years of the 19th century. As a mere lad, he volunteered for the army in the First World War and was sent to the trenches, where, at the Battle of Ypres, he suffered the most atrocious machine gun wounds. While recovering from his wounds, he contracted TB and, on the edge of a total physical and mental breakdown, managed to cure himself by fasting and prayer. You see, it takes more than a few bullets and TB to kill a Yorkshireman. Reasoning that God had spared him for greater things, Wilson decided to climb Everest without oxygen. The fact that he never climbed anything higher than Stoodley Pike in his life deterred him not one whit, and he set about planning his expedition in meticulous detail. He decided to fly to Tibet, crash land his plane on the Rongbuk Glacier, and simply walk to the top of the mountain, sustained by nothing more than his belief that faith could do anything. The fact that he couldn't fly and had no plane didn't bother him either. He bought a second-hand gypsy moth, christened it Everest, and signed up for flying lessons at the London Aero Club. The Air Ministry, together with the various countries whose permission he needed to fly over, sent him telegrams telling him that he should stay in Yorkshire and fly nothing more complex than his pigeons. Wilson tore up all the telegrams and flew by a circuitous route to Darjeeling, where he hired 3 native porters, disguised himself as a local by rubbing walnut juice into his skin, and dressed in native clothes, set off for the summit of Everest. From then on, his luck seems to have dried up. He reached the foot of the mountain and began the climb, at which point the porters, perhaps realising he was a Yorkshireman, deserted him. According to received wisdom, he died of hypothermia and exhaustion while trying to climb the ice chimney into the North Col sometime in June 1934. And it's here that the story takes on the character of something more mysterious even than any Da Vinci Code, since the very first people to come across Wilson's body and his diaries were Eric Shipton and Dan Bryant while on the Everest expedition of 1935. Shipton, by the way, was not just a southerner, but was also a northophobe. Are we to believe him when he tells us that amongst Maurice Wilson's personal belongings were items of women's clothing and writings that show him, quote, to have been a fetishist? Are we to believe in this man who would do an expedition of 3 months on only one shirt when he tells us that some of these items of clothing were, and I quote, intimate items? I put it to you, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, that the truth is something far, far different from that Kleenex of lies that has been sold to us down the years by Shipton and Co. I believe that Maurice Wilson did make it to the summit of Everest and that Shipton sought to conceal the fact. The women's clothing, well, if even it was true, everybody has to have a hobby. In any case, is it not possible that Wilson, being a true northerner, was doing Everest the hardest way possible, in slingbacks, liberty bodice and cami knickers? Can you see what the scoop this would have been? The headlines in the newspapers in Merry England, and remember this was 1935, would have read, Everest climbed by Yorkshire Transvestite, king to give him, stroke her, knighthood. Transvestite, I think not, and smell all the nastiness of yet another southern plot. I think that one of the things I talk about a lot in the book is the kind of strange people you meet, either on the hill or when you come off the hill or trekking and on your various journeys. One that I talk about in the book, I won't read it out, is coming off Kendal. I've just done the whole Pennine Way, north to south, because I like walking with the sun on my face rather than the back of my head. And also I like the fact that it felt as though I was walking home, because I was living in Manchester at the time. So I'd set off 2 weeks before. In a glorious summer, we had that May of about 76, and it was just glorious. It was dry, and in fact I walked across Kendal, kicking up dust in a place where you're normally sinking up to your oxters in slutch and peat. And Black Hill, even Black Hill, the morass of Black Peat on Black Hill had dried up. Coming off at the end of the day, and I was just finishing, I knew the pub was closed because it was old closing time at 3 o'clock, and it was about 4 o'clock, and I was just coming down Jacob's Ladder, and I was just heading towards the old Packhorse Bridge. And I just heard this noise, and it was the weirdest conglomeration of noise I've ever heard. It was sort of clanking, loads of metallic clanking, and the sound of a cricket commentary. And I'm still way out of Edale, you know, I'm still a good mile out of Edale, man. And you can hear this clank, 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 clankety clank, clankety clank. And now Bennett's coming up to bowl. Oh, lovely shot. What do you think of the cake, Jim? Oh, wonderful, Jonathan. And I saw these two dots coming towards me. And there were two hikers, it turns out, setting off at 4 o'clock in the afternoon to start the Pennine Way. They're covered in, you remember the old Blacks triangular rucksacks, the khaki ones that used to be able to get the frame rucksack? They've got one of those each, and hanging from it, there was billy cans, there was frying pans, there was tin cups, tin mugs, there was oil lamp, and you know, the old hurricane lamp, all hanging off the back of this. And both of them, it was a father and son, the father about 45, the son about 20, both of them had those Tyrolean hats with the feathers on. And they were striding up, and they got a portable radio on the rucksack. And it was the commentary from Old Trafford, where the Australians were giving us another kick-in. And they're coming up towards me and they said, which way's Croydon? You know, they're starting off on the Pennine Way, they hadn't got a map. They were just so, I said, well, it's sort of over there, but you're like 18 miles, you know, you've got a big massif on Kendal. Oh, we'll be all right. And his dad said, I told you we should have bought a map. No, we'll be all right. He said, we just keep heading north. And off he said, to this day, I don't know whether there's sort of, you know, there's a load of plane wrecks on Bleaklow. And somebody come across these two bodies and wonder how this plane had crashed with all this cutlery and equipment in there. You know? Bizarre stuff.